I quite like Strange Days. I was never a fanatic over Kathryn Bigelow, really, though I really love her other film, Near Dark. Clearly, I like her as a genre filmmaker, even though she only engaged in that mould, sadly, twice. The most obvious films to compare the quality of Strange Days to, as far as designated cyberpunk films of the 90s go, would be Total Recall, Terminator 2, Ghost in the Shell, 12 Monkeys, Dark City, Existence, and The Matrix. I think Strange Days compares positively to Total Recall, which I do quite like, but Strange Days can be perceived as a less ridiculous film, it may be fair to say. I'd also compare it positively to Existence, which I think is very good, though in setting itself up as a successor to Videodrome, Existence noticeably falls a bit short, whereas Strange Days was more shamelessly straightforward cyberpunk Hollywood bravura with some decent ideas thrown in. It wasn't trying to be Blade Runner, the director's cut of, although it was obviously a fan and was acknowledging its existence. I think it compares very positively to Dark City, which I consider to be overrated and a fairly lackluster waste of relatively good and sometimes impressive, though poorly handled and directed, I feel at times, production values. Strange Days has bulkier production values than The Matrix. Whether one prefers one or the other is their prerogative. Some might prefer the techno aesthetic of Strange Days overall. Terminator 2 is action bombast. Strange Days is a relatively different beast, I'd say, and then I couldn't truly compare the successes of Strange Days with the historic achievements that were Ghost in the Shell and 12 Monkeys, both released that same year, 1995. A movie with a lot of fans now that may not have had as many at the time, though I feel it well deserves a loyal fan base and did thoroughly deserve one upon the time of its initial release.